ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुन् श्रीयुतापदकमलम् श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं स्वावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shashwin, for the wonderful Manglacharan. Shashwin, even if the mic is down, we can still hear you, so you don't have to hold it near your mouth. This is just for your information. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Now we can hear you very well, even when the mic is down. Okay, Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you, Shashwin, for the wonderful Manglacharan. So we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam now, and we are on Canto 1, and we are on Chapter 1, and the chapter is called Question by the Sages, and we are on Text 7. So till Mataji joins us, we can just use this time to read the Sanskrit and the purport, because when she comes, we'll understand it better. Hare Krishna, everybody else. Hare Avinash Prabhuji, Path Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna for joining in. Hare Krishna for joining in. Hey, Shashwin, would you like to read the Sanskrit? Then we can release you. I know you have not had your dinner.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Rashaya Uchu.
No. Rishaya Vacha.
Rishaya Ucha Uchu Tvaya Kalu Puranani Setihasani Chanaga Akyatanyapyaditani Dharmasastrani Anyuta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shashwin. Kumar Prabhuji, are you there? Or
Yes, Mataji.
okay, would you like to read the first line and then we repeat after you?
Okay, let me try, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Rasaya uchuha
ऋषय उचुः
त्वया खलु पुराणानि
त्वया खलु पुराणानि
सिद्धिकसानि च नाख्या
शेतिहसानि च नघ
अज्ञातानि अभि अत्कितानि
अख्यातानि अपि अध्यतानि
धर्मशास्त्राणि यानि उद
धर्मशास्त्राणि यायि उतः उत
हरे कृष्ण
Hare
हरे कृष्ण
Krishna.
माता जी।
Hare Krishna. Avinash Prabhuji, can you please read the Sanskrit for us so we know how to read it properly, if possible? Avinash Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Text
Sorry.
6 Prabhuji.
Text 6, is it? Or 7 or 6?
6 Prabhuji.
Text 6. Okay, I'll try. Let's see how this works, because I've
Yes.
just opened the book now.
Okay.
Rushaya Uchuhu
Vishaya Uchuhu
Tvaya Kalu Puranani
Vaya Kalu Puranani
Tetihasani Chanaga
Seti Hasani Chanaga
Akhyatanyapi Adhitani
अज्ञातानि अपि अत्कितानि
Dharma Shastrani Yanyuta.
धर्मशास्त्राणि यानि उत
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Path Prabhuji, can you please read the Sanskrit so that we know how to do it properly? Hare Krishna, Path Prabhuji. Are you able to do it? Okay, Path Prabhuji might be a little bit committed. Arya Govindas Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, we are on text 6 and we are trying to learn the Sanskrit. Prabhuji, can you
Okay.
read one line and then we'll repeat after you?
Mataji, first I will read because it's my turn.
Yes, Prabhuji. I thought you were busy. That's why.
No,
Yes.
not busy. Not busy. The thing is that it's not operating proper. The system is the phone is old, too old.
Sorry,
Yes,
Pole
yes.
Prabhuji. Please
Yes.
read so that we learn. Then Arya Govindas Prabhuji will.
Yes, fine. Rusaya Uchuhu
Rushaya Uchuhu
Taya Khalu Puranani
Tvaya
मया
Kalu
खलु पुराणानि
Itihasani Chanagha
Tetihasani
इतिहासानि कातानः
Akhyatanyadhisetani
अज्ञातानि अपि
Akhyatyatitani
अत्कितानि
Dharma Sastrani Chapnyuta.
धर्मशास्त्राणि यानि उत
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Arya Govind Prabhuji, please read the Sanskrit.
Yes, Mataji. Line by line.
Yes, Prabhuji, the Sanskrit. Then we can go to one.
Okay. Rishaya Uat Uchuhu
ऋषया उचुको
Tvaya Khalu Puranani
त्वया खलु पुराणानि
Tetihasani Chanagha
सेतिकासानि चानघ
Setihasani Chanagha
सेतिकासानि चानघ
Akhyatani Api Adithani
अज्ञातानि अपि अत्कितानि
Akhyatani Api Adithani
अज्ञातानि अपि अधीतानि
धर्मशास्त्राणि यान्यउत
धर्मशास्त्राणि यानि युत
धर्मशास्त्राणि यान्युत
धर्मशास्त्राणि यान्युत
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you. Soni Mataji, are you able to read the word to word and translation, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Word to word.
Yes, Mataji.
Rishaya.
Rishaya,
Sages.
the sages
Uchuhu.
Uchuhu
Said.
said
Tvaya.
Tvaya
By you.
by
by
you
you.
Kalu.
Kalu
Kalu,
Undoubtedly.
undoubtedly
Puranani.
Puranani
The supplements to the Vedas with the illustrative narrations.
the
the
supplement of
supplements to
to
the
the
Vedas
Veda with
illustrative
illustrative narration.
Sa itihasani.
Sa itikasani
Along with the histories.
along with the histories.
Cha.
Cha
And.
and
Anaga.
Anaha
Freed from all vices.
freed from all vices.
Akhyatani.
Akhyatani,
Akyatani
Explained.
explained.
Api.
Abi
Api,
Although.
although
Aditani.
Aditani
Well read.
well read.
Well read.
Dharma Shastrani.
Dharma Sastrani
Scriptures
scriptures give you
giving right directions to progressive life.
scriptures give you right direction to progressive life.
Progressive life.
Yani.
Yani
All this.
all this
Uttha
Uda
said.
said.
The translation, Mataji?
Radhika Kasturi Mataji has joined us. Hare Krishna
Right.
Mataji, Danvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to
Mataji,
Sri
sorry,
Prabhupada.
I didn't see you. Your video
Oh
was.
no problem.
Danvat Pranam, please accept our humble obeisances from everybody in this group, Mataji, who have joined and who are about to join. Mataji, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are on Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 6. And Chapter 1 is called Question by the Sages, and we have just read the Sanskrit and word to word. Mataji, I hand over to you now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let's get started with our prayers and then we can get into today's verse. Srinivata Swagata Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srinivata Swagata Krishna. Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Patrani Vidunoti Sugrat Sadam. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Kauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. La Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. All right, so today's verse is going to be verse number 6 from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter. Very nice. So let's get through the verse and try to understand what Srila Prabhupada is saying. But before that, I would like to take blessings from all of you so that I'm able to speak the relevant words of Srila Prabhupada. Kindly bless me, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Rishevuchuhu Tvaya kalau puranani setihasani chanaha akyatan yapyatitani dharma shastrani yanyuta. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is a very, very sacred literature. So, a person who's engaged in explaining this message of Srimad Bhagavatam, what are some of the qualities of that person who sits on the Vyasasana and spreads the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam? That is something that Srila Prabhupada has clarified in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically this verse. So let's understand. So a person who sits on this Vyasasana has a great responsibility. He has a great responsibility, just like, say, for example, there is in the material world, somebody is a judge. So this person is supposed to have spotless character, meaning he must make sober judgments, isn't it? So of course, this is mundane field. But then if you look at it, with you, there is greater responsibility, even greater responsibility. When we talk about the mundane world, that itself we see there is so much responsibility of this judge to make sure that he gives sober judgments. In a similar way, I'm just comparing this mundane example to how a speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam is supposed to be. Srila Prabhupada says he has to be free from sinful life. It is very extremely important. That is what he says. All the 4 regulative principles has to be followed by a person who actually speaks the glories of the Lord. Again, there could be some person, saying, oh, out of hypocrisy, right? Hypocrisy is trying to show how advanced you are to other people when you're not. Let me speak Srimad Bhagavatam. That is cheating, right? And again, there could be some other set of people who actually earn their livelihood by actually reciting the glories of the Lord, that is reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. So these kind of activities must be avoided. So that is what is the characteristic of a person who's free from vices. And Prabhupada has already instructed us that we have to abstain from those 4 things, right? No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex. So when we follow through the 4 regs, what happens is that we become free from creating unnecessary trouble to other living beings indirectly. And directly, it is actually helping us with our devotional life. So this is the understanding, dear devotees, that Srila Prabhupada wants to clarify through the purport. So here, Sutta Goswami, he is actually praised for reciting because obviously the speaker is Sutta Goswami, and we have the Shaunakadi Rishis who are actually listening to him, and they actually glorify Sutta Goswami. They are saying, oh, you know what, you're so good in reciting different scriptures. You're so well versed in the subject matter. You must have heard the science from the right source. And that is why you're able to explain it to us this way. You should have heard the message of Krishna from the right source. This is very important, dear devotees. Where are we actually hearing this message from? Is it passed on from the disciplic succession? Are we hearing it from our parampara? This question is very, very important. Are we looking for other avenues as far as this hearing goes? That is something that we must ask ourselves. Say, for example, if a professor is there and he's simply speculating some subject matter which is not directly related to the text, or which is not directly from the books, which is supposed to be quoted to the students, then obviously that knowledge is not coming from the right source. This is a mundane example. Similarly, a person who's actually speaking the glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam has to speak through the disciplic succession. That is, pass on the message of what Srila Prabhupada is trying to convey to us. Because if you look at Srila Prabhupada's purports, these purports are his ecstasies. It is direct revelation that is coming from the heart of a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. So each and every line of Srimad Bhagavatam that he has written and commented upon has a great significance. And we must really, really understand how much Srila Prabhupada has strived to give us this message of Srimad Bhagavatam, even during the deathbed, how much he struggled to give this message to all of us. That is something we have to always be ever grateful of. And I'm so happy that all of you all have started with the Srimad Bhagavatam, that too reading verse by verse, so you get a deeper understanding. And today we are even going to discuss about that fact. So as we understand, Suta Goswami is very expert. He is also expert in religious principles like Manu Samhita, Puranas, and Itihasas, the histories. So we know the 4 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, and we also consider that Puranas and Itihasas are the 5th Vedas. Why are they considered 5th Vedas? Why? Because again, people of Kaliyuga, this is very much suitable. Everything is explained in terms of narrations. So the subject matter can be easily understood and assimilated by this people of Kaliyuga. We are going to see what are the characteristics of people in Kaliyuga. How are they? What kind of people are they? We are very much going to see that very soon, in the following sections. And these Itihasas and Puranas are so easy to digest, and hence they can be assimilated very easily. And among the Puranas, Srimad Bhagavatam is the most important Purana, Amala Purana. So this is what is the understanding. And so Prabhupada says he has to be free from the vices, isn't it? Say for example, in this age of Kaliyuga, it is very difficult for a person to be free from vices. But then when we start following up this process of devotional service, the mercy flows down, and through the mercy of the parampara that we have, we are actually able to be free from the vices. You could have been a meat eater before, but not anymore. Where is that strength coming from? Where is that power coming from? It is coming from the mercy is descending down through the parampara, and that is why we are able to follow what we are able to follow, isn't it? It is all the mercy of our Guru Vargas that we are able to stick to the vows and sincerely follow through these 4 regulative principles. And in Kali Yuga, this is stressed even more than the previous yugas, because that is the characteristic of this Kali Yuga. Nobody wants to sit for Krishna Katha. Nobody wants to hear the topic of the glories of the Lord. Nobody has time. They are into so many material activities. Where is the time for them to listen to Krishna Katha? Where is the time for them to read Srimad Bhagavatam? Right? So hence they could be prone to a lot of vices. If you look at half of the purport, Srila Prabhupada stresses the importance of becoming free from vices. Right? And the next half, he talks about how learned a person has to be to recite the whole glories of Srimad Bhagavatam or talk about the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. He has to be well versed with the scriptures. That is the second part that Srila Prabhupada talks. But half of the purport only talks about how this person has to be free from vices. Say, for example, if you want to do a riskiest job, the riskiest job may be to go and climb out this mobile tower to do some maintenance there. So in London, there could be mobile towers which are 330 meters high, for example. They could be very tall, and you could be into the small tower, climbing up so high and doing this menial work of maintaining that tower, right? And sometimes it becomes suddenly clouded. There could be rain, there could be lightning, and you're sitting all alone there doing some work of maintenance. That to such a high tower, right? So it is very difficult. Like that, to become free of sinful life is very difficult in this age of Kali. Everybody knows, nobody is qualified, but somebody still needs to do it, isn't it? And the person who has that attitude of surrender, the attitude, go and listen. First of all, to present Srimad Bhagavatam, you must be hearing it from the right source. You must get this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam from the disciplic succession. That has to be done. So all this is criteria, right? So somebody has to preach this message about glories of Lord Krishna, which is being conveyed by Vyasadeva. It is very important. So this communication or this connection is necessary. Say, for example, as I told you, somebody has to go and maintain this tower. Like that, Srila Prabhupada, he came and gave us the Srimad Bhagavatam. He himself is very much qualified. He is a person who symbolically represents that he is free from vices. And now he has departed. So somebody needs to take it forward. If somebody doesn't do, then the whole group of people in that particular community will lose their connection to Krishna. So somebody must do that job. Somebody has to explain Srimad Bhagavatam. This knowledge has to be disseminated to other people. Hence, there is a need for preaching, and hence there is a need for qualified speaker. And hence, this person, who is coming from the disciplic succession and who very well hears the message of our parampara, has to pass it on to others. What we are doing is just, we are like a parrot repeating this message of Srimad Bhagavatam that Srila Prabhupada has given us, isn't it? So this is the qualification that Srila Prabhupada is talking about in the first half, where he says this person who sits on this Vyasasana, who speaks knowledge in this process, he has to be free from vices. And not only that, he has to be very well versed in the scriptures. So those are the 2 points that Srila Prabhupada stresses in the purport, specifically the point on the vices. All right, so now we will try to understand again Chanaga, right? Like it's mentioned here, we have to be free from the sins. That is the word Chanaga. And this is a very important point. This, how can we understand it is very important? 5,000 years back, if you look at somebody is sitting on the Vyasasana, then it is very obvious this person will be free from vices. There is no doubt, because they are naturally acclaimed to be free from vices. But in this age of Kali, we need to stress this over and over and over and over. That's the point. In today's age, this is very important. 5,000 years back, no problem. Whoever sits on this Vyasasana is obviously going to have this characteristic of being free from vices. So now, a personality who's being glorified here, who's that? Sutta Goswami, right? Sutta Goswami's own father actually went through a very bad experience. His father was Romaharshana Sutta, right? He was actually sitting on the Vyasasana and he was speaking on the Puranas. And suddenly Lord Balaram actually came there. And what happened? When Balaram comes, we need to actually pay respect to Balaramji. So he actually, Romaharshana Sutta, he actually failed to pay respect to Balaramji. So Balaramji, he didn't wait even for a single moment. He said there is no leeway. And he immediately punished him. And what was this punishment? He just picked a small blade of grass, threw at him, and Romaharshana Sutta actually fell dead. And all the sages there, they asked Balaram, "Oh, Balaramji, what have you done? We just gave him a blessing that he would live longer and he could sit on this Vyasasana and speak to us. So what happened to all of our benedictions?" Oh, Balaramji said, "Oh, I didn't know about it. That's your blessing. I can reverse the benediction. I will reverse the curse or reverse this punishment." Like that, when Balaramji told to the sages who were sitting there, they said, "No, no, 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 please don't do that. You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are very much free to do whatever you want. There's no need for you to reverse this or, bring him back to life. There's no need for that. Instead, we have another proposal for you. And Balramji asked, what was that proposal? So father actually lives through the son. So you give your blessings to his son. His son is now, going to come here. And as a matter of fact, people, when you're supposed to sit on Vyasasan, you must be sinless. And it is understood at that time. And then Balramji actually gave him this benediction, that is Romaharshana Suta's son, Suta Goswami, blessings. Because the father actually lives through the son. So he wants to make sure to fulfill the benedictions that has been given to Romaharshana Sutta by the sages. And hence he was blessed by Balramji. So this is the understanding, dear devotees. That's one story that was very relevant here. And then if you look at Arjuna, right? We all know Arjuna. So what is about Arjuna that we need to know here? When he was in the heavenly planets, what happened there? He was approached by Urvasi. She came to him. So if you go and read this Mahabharata, lines of Mahabharata, the text that actually describe Urvashi's beauty, right? The beauty of Urvashi is being described there. And the text itself is enough for a person to get agitated in his mind. Those sensual thoughts, how is described, how her beauty is described, that itself is enough for a person to be agitated. Just the description of Urvasi's beauty in the book itself is capable of agitating you mentally. But if you look at Arjuna, he was there in person. Can you imagine the scenario? He was just in person, seeing her, not just seeing her, but was in an environment in such a way that she was going to even seduce him. But it just came natural for him. He said, oh, Urvashi, you know what? You have married one of my ancestors. So you're like my grandmother. I can't even look at you like this. When she heard this, she was shocked. Oh my God, what is this person talking about? She couldn't understand the comment that was given by Arjuna. Urvasi, of course, cursed Arjuna. That's a separate story. And what I wanted to stress here is Arjuna's character. How he was able to handle Urvasi's agitation. This is an inborn natural trait of Arjuna. Like that, people of those ages, they were all having this inborn trait of being free from vices. That is what I was correlating this with, exhibiting the character of Arjuna, how he was not at all agitated, right? In contrast, people of Kaliyuga, just by looking at the text or the message that Mahabharata has describing Urvasi's beauty, he may be agitated just by reading the book. That is the quality or the trait of a person in Kaliyuga. Okay, so now Srimad Bhagavatam, in the beginning of Bhagavatam, there is a write-up about Mahaprabhu, isn't it? So Srila Prabhupada actually has a write-up about Mahaprabhu. Why? Because his life is, he is a person Bhagavat. His whole life is actually Bhagavatam. Sri Mahaprabhu, he followed the practice. Of course, he was free from vices. And even with his own wife, you know, it is mentioned in the purport that he used to joke only, he joked only once in his life, that too with mild sarcasm. So he, whenever the devotees happened to come to him, he would meet the women at a very distant place. He will glorify them and respect them. But when it came to devotees, and specifically women devotees, he was having a distance that was maintained always at all points in time. So that is the quality that we are talking about. How great a devotee he was, portraying the case none other than Supreme Personality of God himself, but he was exhibiting the mood. That mood, he's person Bhagavat, isn't it? So we need to understand that this person Bhagavat is whom we have to follow. and how he actually led his life, how great of a devotee he was. So those are the things that we need to follow, and hence Srila Prabhupada actually dedicated that before writing Srimad Bhagavatam, he glorified Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if you look at him, he never interacted with even Prataparutra Maharaj, because he wanted to, avoid rich people, basically avoid these politics. And the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what did he say about Srimad Bhagavatam? He says it's Amala Puran, spotless Puran. And we have to accept whatever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. That is the faith we need to have. That is the trust that we need to build up. Whatever Acharyas say, our Acharyas who come from this lineage of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, whatever they say, that is truth. It may not be possible for us to understand everything right now. No, it's going to take us time. With devotional maturity, you will be able to understand the subject matter. But till that time, whatever we understand, it's through Krishna's mercy. Whatever we don't understand at this point of time, that will come eventually with devotional maturity. This is the understanding, dear devotees. We have to be patient in this process of Krishna consciousness. Okay, and then, so again, we need to relish this Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. It is a very relishable subject matter. The taste of it is realized in the association of devotees. Just as music, it sometimes may be more appreciated when we hear in the association of music lovers. This is a very crude example, of course. Topics of Krishna have to be realized and appreciated and understood in the association of devotees. That feeling is totally different, isn't it? So now we are all doing the Sangha, where association of similar devotees, like-minded devotees, everybody has interest to know what does Srimad Bhagavatam say, what is Bhagavad Gita saying. Everybody has the similar interest, and you're all coming together and joining the Sangha and relishing it together, asking questions. That shows your eagerness to progress in devotional service. This is what is the intent, and we actually relish it in the association of devotees. We must also have this concentrated hearing, right? So for example, the speaker of Bhagavatam, of course, he has to hear it from the right source, and he has to hear it with attention. This speaker, he has to even give this message or impart this message to others. So he has to be clear in his subject matter. Whatever he is speaking, it has to be understood. Who's an expert person? Say, for example, pick up any field of activity that you're doing. If you go deep into the subject matter, that is when you become an expert. There are a very few people who actually like to go deep into the subject matter, isn't it? Unless you get deep into it, you will not become an expert or an expertise. Srila Prabhupada said, hearing it from the authority. In practicality, by doing research, you can become an expertise. For practical purposes, research is something like you take a mentor and you learn the subject matter under that mentor. This person is point you, okay, how deep can you go? When you go in that direction that is being given by your mentor, then you get clarity in the subject matter. But again, you need to have patience. As I told you, everything cannot be understood in a single day. We need to wait, and we need to have this patience in this devotional service, right? There is a definition of expert is a person who can also explain things in such a way that even a dummy person can understand. That person is also an expert. He can make it so clear and crisp that even a simple person can understand the subject matter. He makes it so understandable. Like he can just draw a picture, he can give examples, he can, explain this technical subject matter. Whatever needs to be understood by the devotees, he has to communicate it in that manner. Unless he's an expert who has delved deep into the subject matter, how can he explain this knowledge? It's not possible, isn't it? So we need to, Srila Prabhupada stresses this point on being well versed with scriptures. So this is what it is, going deep into the subject matter, understanding what Krishna has to say for me, understanding, okay, this is the message for me. How can I implement it in my life? How can I make Krishna happy by listening to this message, right? There is that practicality aspect that also comes into play when we hear the subject matter. So very important for us is that we need to crystallize and concentrate on the subject matter. And again, this crystallization of the subject matter can happen in many ways. It can happen when you write. When you write, what happens? You really start to think, right? Is what should I write? How only if you have the understanding on the subject matter would you be able to write, isn't it? And then person he gets enlightened. How the person who hears is supposed to be enlightened. The person who speaks is supposed to get enlightenment, isn't it? How is he getting that? By speaking, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smarana, right? These are the methods that are given in prominence. And Srila Prabhupada explains it in the purport that this person actually gets enlightenment through this hearing process. And as a result of hearing, what happens is he speaks it out, he glorifies it. So those are the two things that Srila Prabhupada clarifies. He says, by Shravanam, by hearing, concentrated hearing, and by speaking the subject matter to others, there is that crystallization, the concepts become clearer and clearer. When you hear, it becomes clear, say maybe to 50%. And then when you start speaking that same subject matter to others, maybe your clarity gets further increased by another 25%. So dear devotees, it is a good learning for us to that Srila Prabhupada is saying here that this Kirtanam is very important, meaning not only Shravanam, right? When you actually glorify this through the process of Kirtanam, then you are going to be doubly benefited. So you can definitely, okay, you heard this message of Srimad Bhagavatam with regards to this verse, why not share it with a group of friends, or why not share it with whoever is of interest, or discuss the subject matter with others. That way, we actually get more clarity in the subject matter. Okay, now coming to the material practicality, right? Material world we are in, and what does material science say with regards to this? There is actually experts who are saying that if you practice anything for 2 years every day for 18 years, then you're going to become a master in that activity. Again, this has been proven. It looks like it's a proven scientific research. And so what is the message for us? Okay, Mataji, we are not worried about what this material science has to say, but what are we trying to derive out of this message? You know, is this anukul for our Krishna consciousness? Yes, of course, why not? Prabhupada has given us this instrument of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? What did he say? He says, hear the holy name, hear each syllable of the holy name. And if your mind is going to wander here and there, bring it back, bring it back. Why can't we master? 2 hours every day, 18 years. Why can't we give it a try? You want to learn playing mridanga for every day, 2 hours, 18 years, then you will become a master, which is what is the scientific research showing us. So again, what is the essence? The essence of person's life, this is attention, isn't it? So we need to bring back the attention, bring back to wherever we are, to the current moment, to the present moment. And when we have this attitude of bringing back our mind to focus on what we are doing, that can give us long results. So this is just one thing I wanted to mention, what material science has to say and how we can also use it as an anukul for Krishna consciousness. Like if your mind goes back, then we can always bring it back, and we need to follow it with sincerity so that we can become a master and attain perfection in our life as well. But some people, you may say, oh, Mataji, you know what? They have been practicing for more than 30 years, 40 years, and still they say they haven't perfected. Of course, it could be their humility too. We don't know about that. But then there is this very important point that Srila Prabhupada says. Hear the name. Hear each syllable. If you can't hear it, bring our mind back. If we don't bring our mind back and let it wander and sit along whatever that we are dreaming about, then we are not following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. So we need to pay attention to what he's saying and follow through that. If we are able to follow the instruction perfectly, then we can succeed in whatever endeavor we have. And moreover, there is blessings of our Guru Parampara. If you take one step, they will take 10 steps for us or 100 steps for us. The mercy always descends down from the Parampara. And we must have this faith. I'm not doing anything. It's only because of them I'm able to, even whatever Radhanath Maharaj says, even the act of breathing, it can be done on your own, right? We don't know. We are thinking we are the doers. Of course, you have learned the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We know who are the doers and how we need to understand that I am not the doer. So that part we are clear about. But I'm just stressing this again to help us remind ourselves that we are not the doers. Then, what is another practical point that you can all implement? Getting a mentor. When we get a good mentor, so whether be it in this Krishna conscious life or even a material life for that matter, if we get a good mentor, it is actually shaping our personality to a large extent. Believe me, if you were a devotee and you got the right mentor, then you can go fabulously high in your Krishna consciousness. Again, on the contrary, if you have a wrong mentor, then it's understandable that you need to change a good mentor and find a good mentor who can bring the best out of me, right? We need to have such a mentor that who can just get the best out of me no matter what. And this is critically important, dear devotees. So this mentor relationship can help you in many ways. It can help you mold your spiritual life, your material life, whatever as it's applicable. And that the criteria is that you have to get a right mentor. You have to have this mentor whom you can share your heart with, whom you can confidentially reveal your heart to. You must be comfortable talking to this person. And then explaining your situation to this person so that this person can mold your life so that you can actually go high in spirituality. That is important. So we need to find ourselves a good mentor whom we get along with, who's a little advanced than you, so that he's able to give you solutions from that perspective and help you and guide you in your spiritual life. So this is another practical takeaway for us. And then, so if you hear to Govinda Prabhu's lectures, he says, a drop and a drop and a drop ultimately forms a huge lake. So a drop and a drop and a drop, that means you go deep and deep and deep and deep. You will not even realize to what extent you're going deep, but this can happen. So a small effort can give huge results. We don't even realize. Now you have started Srimad Bhagavatam, isn't it? A few years down the line, you won't even realize how far you have gone in the subject matter. That is the speciality. Very important, isn't it? I mean, we just take an effort and Krishna and Guru Vargas help us fulfill that effort. And then we learn so much in that process. But then that initial spark of, okay, getting it started has to be there. Drop and a drop and a drop and a drop. I thought that was such a profound statement. And then that can give deep impacting results. That desire to do something has to come from us. And then, if it all works out well, it would be guaranteed, it would be sanctioned by the Lord and we can get it going. So Sutta Goswami, if you look at him, he was not a Brahmana. He's Sutta, he's a Goswami. So that means he's not coming from a Brahminical lineage. Sutta means he's a mixture of Brahmana Kshatriya or Brahmana Vaishya. So those who are all hearing from him, they are all Brahmanas like Shaunakadi Rishis, right? And they gave him a position for him to sit down and speak Srimad Bhagavatam. So what does it imply? Srimad Bhagavatam is beyond caste and creed. That is what is the point. one who's free from vices and one who knows the subject matter thoroughly and willing to give back to the society is sort of a person we want. That is what Srimad Bhagavatam values. So we need to understand this one also. And then, so from Bhagavad Gita, since we are talking about this process of hearing, I thought I could just quote this verse and speak a little bit about it, because hearing obviously is a very important aspect for everyone. So, Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Maya Shakta Manapartha, Yogam Yunjan Madashraya, Asamshayam Samagramam, Yatanya Shashi Tachrunu. So, Krishna, so many people have been attracted to Krishna through this process of hearing. If you look at Rukmani, so Rukmani, Mother Rukmani, she developed affection by hearing. Yajnapatnis, they also, Yajnik Brahmana Patnis, right? They also developed affection by hearing. And in a similar way, we can also develop this affection to Lord Krishna by this process of hearing. So, it is quoted in Bhagavad Gita 7.1, by following the 6 stages, one can attain perfection. Shrinu, by hearing, what will happen? We keep on hearing regularly. Then what happens as a result? If we keep on hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, what happens? Nyashashi Shamagram. We will know Krishna properly. We will know Krishna completely, Samagram. And once we know Krishna properly, then what happens? What is the result of that? Asamshayam. We would become free from our doubts. The more we start to know about Krishna, the more knowledge comes to us. And the doubts, they decrease. And then what happens as a result of this hearing? They will be purified. Ashraya, they will understand actually who Krishna is. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, right? Krishna is a great well-wisher. Krishna is my ultimate object. So he is my ultimate object. So my love has to naturally go to him. I will take shelter of him. Ashraya, Madashraya. We will all take shelter of Lord Krishna. Yogam Yunjan. The shelter of Krishna, it is just not something abstract. It is a practical action. It is Yogam Yunjan. We have practical devotional service, which we do. Then what happens as a result of practice of this devotional service? Asakta Mana. Asakta Mana happens. That means we become attached to Lord Krishna. That affection comes to him. That attachment comes to him. So this is the way. Through these 6 stages, we will get Ashakta Mana. One will attain perfection. This is what Krishna is telling over here. So our goal is to hear about Krishna and what happens as a result of hearing about Krishna. By hearing about Krishna, we get Samagram. The more we understand about the pastimes of Krishna, the more we understand the philosophy of Lord Krishna, all these deepens our understanding. As a result, our Gyan increases, that is our knowledge increases, and we will know, we will know him in full. Of course, full doesn't mean complete. In terms of knowing Krishna completely, no one can actually know Krishna completely. We know Seshanag, he's chanting the glories with his 100 heads and 100 mouths, but still he can completely glorify Krishna. No, only Krishna knows him in full. What we are saying is, to the capability of our understanding, according to our capacity, we will know the absolute truth. We can definitely not know him in full. Definitely not know him in totality. That is definitely not possible. But whatever, to our capacity, we can know him. Then we become purified by that. The impurity is removed. Asamshaya, the doubts are removed. So, very basic questions like, does God exist? Does God care for me? Is the holy name powerful? What can give the ultimate liberation? Is the holy name the only way to liberate the people of Kaliyuga? All these questions, asamshaya, we can, the doubts will be clarified, and we understand in truth that Krishna is the highest aspect of this absolute truth. All these, you have to keep on hearing. Then these doubts will go away. Our acharyas, they have written so many books, right? So many things are being spoken about. There's no dearth for this hearing, right? Hearing can happen continuously. There's no need. So many things are there, so many, so many books are there by our acharyas, and there is no dearth to this process of hearing. And as a result of this hearing process, our doubts will be clarified, we will become purified, the impurities will go, and we will then perfect our lives, which is what is the understanding that Srimad Bhagavad Gita gives us for us, which is 7.1. That is, Maya Shakta Manapartha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayah Asamshayam Samagramam Yatanyashashi Tatsunu. So now, Kirtanam means to chant the glories of the holy name, about his form, about his qualities, about his pastimes. Then association, what does Kirtanam means? According to Srila Prabhupada, this is what is Kirtanam. So, and then he also gives this point on Kirtanam means preaching or chanting. Shravanam means hearing, and Kirtanam means preaching or chanting. So those are some of the things I wanted to share with you, dear devotees. I don't want to take much of your time, even though I would love to speak, but yeah. So we will conclude our session here so that I just open up our discussion for some question and answer session. So with this, we can conclude. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, dear devotees.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Are there any questions or comments? We have 6 more minutes, so we can use that. Any questions or comments? Mataji, a quick question. Again, what is the meaning of submissive hearing? Submissive.
Yeah, in Bhagavad Gita also we've heard this term Tadvidi Pranipatena Pariprakshena Shevaya, right? So that is submissive hearing, meaning we don't think as if we know everything. And when we hear from the speaker, we feel as if we don't know anything. What is it for me? What is in store for me? What am I supposed to follow? What is the message that Sri Krishna is telling me, going to tell me? That is submissive hearing. You don't have the pride that, oh, I already know the subject matter. What is this Mataji going to talk? She's not going to talk anything more. Whatever I know, she's just going to repeat the same thing. So that is not submissive hearing. The submissive hearing means you hear with the feeling that you don't know anything. And whatever you are getting is just through the mercy of the Lord, you are getting what you are getting. And that is the attitude we must develop through this hearing process. Just being a blade of grass and having that attitude of humility while you're hearing the subject matter is what is submissive hearing.
Thank you very much, Mataji. I hand over to Path Prabhuji. Path Prabhuji, kindly conclude the session.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, can I audible, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, my internet is not supporting, so that I cannot on the video.
Okay.
Thank you, Mataji, for your nice class about the Rushaya Uchuhu, all the rishis headed by Shaunak Rishi. They request the Sutta Goswami. Already you explained the pastime of Sutta Goswami, how he was benedicted by Lord Balaram after punished his father Lomaharsana Muni. Thank you very much, Mataji, for that information, because most of the many people we are not knows what is happened, how it is coming there. So thank you very much. Also another putting how this one Arjuna is not agitated when he was in Sudharma Sabha in heavenly planet also. Thank you very much. And also you are giving the inputs up to how it's supposed to be. Like Mata's question, submissively hearing, which is also very good to for our spiritual progress. Without submissive, we cannot even our material life also we are not with progress. Everything we supposed to be needed the 100% commitment. Also another thing, like Shraddha, the faith. Shraddha means faith, also the respect. respect of the speaker, respect of the scripture, and respect of the to whom he talk. It means is the Padma like Lord Vishnu, you're supposed to have faith on Lord Vishnu. If he is talking about Lord Shiva, you have supposed to be faith on Shiva, so that we can learning everything. That is called submissive ahankara shunya. It means there is no any ego, no pride. Faith come respect. Then we can hear proper. Without respect, we cannot hear, or that is not affecting us also. So this is my understanding. Thank you very much, Mataji, for your class. Also, thanks all the devotees who joined in this forum. I thanks all the devotees. We are continuing the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. Thanks very much. All your support and continuous presence. Thanks a lot again and again. So I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for a glorification of Hare Krishna Radhika Kasturi Mataji. Please join.
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Vancha Kalpatarurvesya
Yasya kripa
Kripa
sindhubhya eva
Sindhubhya
Patitanam
Patitanam
pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo
Namaha.
Namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna Radhika Kasturi Mataji ki jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to all of you, Vaishnavas. Thank you, Parth Prabhu. It's been such a long time to hear you.
Hare
And,
Krishna Mataji. I was a little busy because due to something, some of our senior Mataji hospitalized, and we are a land issue to purchase a land for the temple. So I am quite busy.
oh, okay. Yeah, we missed your association. Definitely.
Yes,
Yes,
we'll
Prabhuji.
see.
Hope you are
Yes,
able to
yes.
come back to
Thank
all of
you.
us. Yeah. And give you
Okay,
valuable
okay.
realizations. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.